Hey, good morning again, and welcome to another edition of Vacancy. You see, this morning, one of our co-hosts can't join us because she has some other pressing matters to deal with, and so in his excuse. But my co-host this morning is Ivy. Good morning, Ivy.
Good morning. Good morning.
And this morning, the whole program is tied around Evie because she's an HR expert. She has a lot of experience. She knows where all the bodies are buried, and she'll be telling us a few things. But what are we talking about this morning? We're talking about the interview itself and the questions they would ask you, what you should be prepared for, how you should answer the questions, and what what will make you go through that interview. So Ivy is going to be talking to us about that. So Ivy, good morning again.
Good morning.
All right.
Good
So
morning.
the first thing is you have an interview. What should you prepare for?
Okay, so I always say that there are three things, and I call them the three R's.
Okay.
The first thing is you have to research.
Okay.
And research, most often than not, people stop at the company stage. But no, you have to research the exact role. You have to research the sector you're going into. Finance in FMCG is different from finance in telecommunication.
Okay.
You have to research the company, and you have to research the people in the company.
Okay.
LinkedIn can help you with that. Just find out who the CFO is, who's the financial manager there,
Okay.
what's their background like. This will give you an idea of the kind of people you would meet when you come for your interview. The next thing I say is ensure that you rehearse.
Okay.
Talk to friends, go on the internet, search out all possible questions they can ask you. Ask your mother to interview you, ask your uncle to interview you, just so that you can get a bit more comfortable with what they can ask you and have better answers. And then third is relax. Nerves have always been the number one killers during interviews. Just take a deep breath and relax. If your friend asked you, what do you do for a living? You would not be nervous. When you go for an interview, don't over-elevate the interview panelist. Look at them as regular people just getting to know you. If you get these three things right, I can assure you that when they start asking you questions, you'll be a bit more composed to answer.
Okay. When they ask you questions about your CV, most people forget the things that are in the CV. What should they do about that?
Okay, so first of all, is try as much as possible not to even forget, which is why even if you get a career advisor to write your resume for you, make sure that you write it together. But in the event that you do, you can apologize. It's also courtesy. Now, remember that hiring managers themselves know that you are nervous. So even when you probably don't answer correctly, they know that it's probably the nerves. But ensure that you're able to answer in a way that they would know, oh, she made a mistake and she really knows what she's saying or what he or she is saying. So don't be worried if you made a mistake based on your resume and your response.
Should you like study your resume yourself, like go through
Yes.
every line and know what is
Yes,
there?
because it could be one line in the resume that they will pick on. So if maybe you wrote it a long time ago, you didn't even remember you made mention of that in your resume, that is the line that you could pick up. So before you get into the interview session, ensure that you look through your resume. What information have I given to these people? So that when they ask me questions, I'm prepared enough to answer accurately.
Okay. So questions like.
Okay, so the first question, which everybody, well, not everybody, almost everybody feels, tell me about yourself. This is not the time to tell us about your local government or the primary school you went to, or tell us whether you're male or female. I've had a candidate tell me, oh, I'm a girl. I'm like, I can see that. Tell me about yourself is simply give me a shorter brief of your resume.
Okay.
So introduce yourself. My name is so-and-so person. I studied this in the university, and this is how I started my career. Currently, this is where I am. Simple, quick, and sharp.
The questions about why did you leave your last appointment or last
Yeah.
employment?
So the first thing I would say is ensure that you never, ever attack your last employment or your current employer.
Oh.
A lot of people say because there's no structure, because they don't pay salaries. The employer is not going to see that you are being honest. They will see that this person also can speak badly of us if he wants to leave. So you can give something as simple as career advancement. I want more better opportunities. I want to grow. I want to be more challenged. You don't have to necessarily give us all the details, especially if it is negative. It is uncalled for.
What of places where they let you go?
I think you should be quite honest with that. So if somebody says, why did you leave your current? Oh, I didn't decide to leave. They asked me to go because they were retrenching or they were trying to short staff and all of that. What you can simply say is, however, during the period between then and now, this is what I have been doing to ensure that I'm viable in the labor market. Don't just leave it with, oh, they told all of us to go and that's it. You should be able to say, regardless of them asking me to go, this is the value I know I can still bring to your organization. But be truthful, please.
Okay. Now, there's the issue of what salaries do you want to earn?
Yeah. So most often than not, organizations already have a budget in mind. So
Okay.
when they call you for an interview, they know they have between 100 and 150 to pay for that
Okay.
role. So they will ask you typically, what are you currently earning? The reason is because they want to know, should we even bother? If you're currently earning 350,000 and what they want to offer is 100,000, they already know this interview is not going far. But if they ask you that question, what I beg people to do is, please don't use this as an opportunity to want to build your house. You are earning 100,000, they ask what you want to earn, you say 800,000. That is being far-fetched. In fact, you're going to irritate the hiring manager.
Wouldn't the interviewers know what the rates are, the going salary?
To be quite honest, not a lot of hiring managers actually pay based on industry standard.
Okay.
Which is what every company should do. They should all have a compensation plan saying, in our industry, this is what we pay managers, this is what we pay salespeople, customer, but not all of them have. They work with what do we have inside house to pay you.
Okay.
So you may be coming from somewhere where it's more structured and they don't have that kind of structure.
Okay.
But please ensure that whatever you say you want to earn, you can defend it.
What about, okay, why I'm saying this is that we mentioned or hinted on it in some previous editions where somebody just finished youth service.
Yes.
And wants to earn the salary of somebody who's worked for like 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
What about, because they ask you, what do you think?
Yeah. So what I always tell people is, if you're a fresh graduate or just came out of NYC and someone should ask you what do you want to earn, ask them back, do you have a budget in mind? I would like you to make an offer.
How about finding out what before you go for the interview?
Yes, so you can
Shouldn't-
find out, but also remember that is negotiation power. The fact that you found out that this guy is earning 150K doesn't mean that you can go and demand for 150K.
Okay.
What he's bringing on board, you may not be able to bring on board. You also don't know the basis of that negotiation. So what I would say is, at the back of your mind, think about it. What would be comfortable for me? Is it 100,000? Is it 120,000? Now, if they ask you what would you like to earn as a fresh graduate, you can tell them, well, I would like to earn enough for me to be able to go from home to work and be able to afford a regular basic living.
Okay.
However, I will still be open to your offer so that I can consider. Don't shut it down and say, if you don't give me 150, I'm not coming. Instead of them now focusing on the fact that you ask for salary, they're focusing on your attitude. They're telling you that this one can't suffer with us if things are hard.
What sometimes a lot of people, when they're interviewing you, they look at you like this may just be a stopgap. It's like
Yes.
you're just taking this job
Just
for the
for-
time. So when they
Yeah.
ask you that kind of question and say, "What are your plans in this organization?"
So, for me, which is why research about
because
the
some people may be
organization.
honest, so they will
Yes.
say, "I just want to do this for 3 years."
Please
before
never say that. Because a company wants to know that you're coming on board to be with them long term. Nobody wants to hire you for short term. If they wanted that, they would have gotten a contract staff.
Okay.
So what I always advise people to do is always ensure that you have researched the company enough to be able to say, I want to stay with you guys for as long as it's necessary to help you to fulfill your vision. I understand what your vision is. I understand the part that I will play in fulfilling that vision. So I don't have a time span. I just want to be here for as long as it's necessary to help you fulfill that vision.
Okay. In an organization, the interview panel, who should be there?
The HR manager should be there. The line manager, who that candidate will be reporting to, should be there.
Okay.
Every other person can be like a third eye. So they can bring somebody from another department just because they want someone a bit more objective.
Do they need an external HR person?
If the external person is the one who is handling the recruitment process for
Okay,
them,
for
yes.
them.
But if they are handling the recruitment process internally,
Okay.
they do not need an external person.
Okay. Now, the other question now is the person, your character, and this. What kind of questions do they ask to bring that out?
So they are called experience-based or situation-based questions. So they tell us of a time where you worked under pressure, or tell us when you worked on a team of 3, or how did you manage a situation like that.
Okay.
So for you to answer that, there's something called the STAR technique. So what you do is, S is for situation, T is for task, A is for action, and then R is for result. What that means is when they ask you, tell us a time when your boss was out of town and you had to manage a project yourself. You give the situation, you tell the interviewer what the task was, you tell them the action you took and what the result was. Now, in the bid to answer all of that, yes, and your role in all of that, that helps them to ascertain, is this person a patient person? Would this person long suffer on this job? Would this person go the extra mile? Is this person looking for a quick gap? Does this person delegate and not take ownership? It's when you're answering that they pay attention to that. So really, it's not the story that they're looking out for. Is what kind of values did you portray while you were given that task at that
Okay,
time?
so will that also include team spirit and all of that?
Yes, so they want to, so for example, if they ask you, tell us a time when your boss left you on a project with 5 other people, how did you manage it? Some people can say, oh, I decided that I've been on this project for so long, I went back, I researched, you have told the interviewer that there are many 4 people, you didn't work with them.
Redundant.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll be rounding up on the things to prepare for when you're going for an interview. Welcome back. We're still on vacancy, and with me is Ivie, our HR expert, and she's bringing her experience to bear. At this point now, we want to point out the things that you should be prepared for or prepare on when you're getting to go for an interview. So first thing,
I would say appearance. Dress the way you want to be addressed.
okay.
If you're going for a role and you're interviewing for a senior manager, you cannot go there looking like a kid. If you're going to interview in a bank, you cannot say because I'm a millennial, I just want to go and be funky. Please
And
ensure,
dress like
yes.
Richard, what's the virgin man? Richard Branson.
No, you can't do that. You don't own the company yet. So please ensure that you are properly dressed.
Okay.
Secondly, ensure that you are extremely calm. Now, calm doesn't mean that when they're asking you questions, you are slow. It means that you come across as confident but in control. So don't speak too fast. Take your time, explain things as they go, and then ensure that you're adequately prepared intellectually. They will throw questions at you that you may not have prepared for, but if you're calm, you can actually think through before you answer those questions.
When you get there and they ask you a question that you don't know anything about, what should you do?
So you can tell them, well, I'm not really clear on that aspect yet, but however, these are my thoughts. So you can give your own recommendations, but never act like you're confident you know the answer and then you're talking rubbish. No. So you can be honest enough to say, I'm not really clear, I haven't handled that kind of project before, but if I had to, or I found myself in that situation, these are the things that I would do.
Okay. Timing. Like there are people who have come to interviews late. So what should that?
So if your interview is at 10, I always advise that you get there at least 30 minutes beforehand. Okay. This would allow you to calm down. This would allow you to prepare adequately. It also helps you to gauge the environment, because remember that while the company wants to hire you, you need to know if you want to hire the company. So when you get in early, you're able to look at a few things. How did the receptionist welcome you? If she's rude, she's cantankerous, that should tell you something about the culture of that company.
Okay.
So you need to go in early, be calm enough, pay attention to when somebody came in. How did they respond to them? Do the people make noise in the office? Is it open office? Is it private office? All of that helps you to prepare better for the session.
Okay. Sometimes they ask personal questions. What should you do when they ask you personal questions like, do you drink, do you smoke, do you...
So if you believe it's something that you think it's too private, you can quietly and politely decline. But sometimes, I've gone for an interview before where they were asking me, do you like to party, do you like to go out? And I found it very weird, but I answered them. At the end of the session, I had to ask, why were you guys asking me that? And they said, their culture is every Friday they go out. They like to have fun. So if they're hiring somebody, they want to know you're not a killjoy.
That means they
Yes.
will hire Dino Melayo. And that what's Davido's brother?
The senator. Yes,
Okay.
so it's important to them because they think if we bring somebody who's a killjoy, I don't want to go out, I don't want to, and everybody is going out, it's not going to help their culture.
Okay.
So sometimes organizations would ask that.
But that means it also matters to study the organization properly,
Yes.
because then you will find out
Exactly, information. Because then, if really I don't like to party and all, I'll be thinking to myself, do I really want to be with these people? Because maybe I'm an introvert, I'm more comfortable being alone. I also don't want to take up a job because of money, and then I'm struggling to perform because the people don't like me because I don't want to hang out.
Okay.
So please pay attention as well for yourself.
Okay. When they ask if you're married or single,
Hi.
and wait, because sometimes when they ask, are you married or single, some ladies, I've known of organizations that have asked a lady, and the lady said, "Oh, I have 3 children, and my husband is not with me anymore. We're separated." And one of them they picked up. So what happened?
Wow.
And so what caused the separation?
Oh, no. Some people are just unprofessional. So one of the things that I struggle with really is that in Nigerian sector, to be quite honest, sir, we still hire based on personal values, opinion. Because the truth is, we're dealing with somebody who's coming from one ancient this is how he thinks things should be. Unlike outside the country where they are focused on can you do the job. But Nigeria, we're looking at attitude. Can this person do ballet for me? Will this person call me a bon? I want to dig deep. So now the question is, as a candidate, is this really the time for you to be fighting for your rights? You need the job. We know that they've gotten it wrong. We're already aware they should not ask you that kind of question. But then is that the time
Okay, you shouldn't lose it.
Don't lose that opportunity. If they ask you, are you married or single? Answer, I'm single or I'm married. If they ask you for more details, I'm so sorry, sir. It's a personal issue I'd rather not discuss.
Okay.
Don't be rude, but don't come and say that is not my fundamental human right. Because whether you like it or not, we live in a sector where everything is still based on tradition and culture.
Okay. So, the interview, most times, okay, I've heard about this. I did ask. There was one time my wife's company were interviewing people, and this person got there, and I wanted to know the level of the people who wanted to interview him. Is that necessary?
It's necessary for you, but it's not advisable that you go there to demand that. That's what prior research will do.
Okay.
So you can look for somebody who's in-house to help you find that out. Because now what you're telling them is that you're proud. What you're telling them is that you're looking for somebody.
The person they were interviewing the person for the role of a GM.
Yeah, even then.
Okay.
Even then, you shouldn't ask the company who's going to interview me. You are telling them that you're cocky. Why don't you come? Because the truth is, being a leader means that whether the person is junior to you or higher to you, you can relate with that person at any level. So why would you ask them that, what level are you, before you ask me questions? No.
Because I did ask her, because she said apparently the person was expecting that since he's a GM, the people that were interviewing would be ED.
Not necessarily. Okay. And that could be the first stage interview. Really, it could be that they just want to ascertain the basics first. They're not getting deep, and then if they feel like you are one of them, they take you up to them. Because the CEO is busy too, the ED is busy. He doesn't want to. Do you know how many of you he's meeting with that day? They'll just give only you special attention. So sometimes let's just calm down. Let's calm down.
Okay. All right. At this time, we'll take the final break, and then we'll be right back. All right. There are certain work that are given to certain people. Jobs demand that you wake up to those requirements, because when you apply for a job, the other duties assigned is in between the lines. There you have to read. You have to read in between that line, because they might ask you, okay, so you've applied for the job of sales executive. If we put you in marketing,
Exactly.
Can you
do something?
all right. So the question really is about value proposition.
Yeah.
How do you explain your value propositions to the organization?
So always remember that when a company is hiring you for a specific role, at the back of their mind they're thinking, what more can you bring on board? So
apart from your qualification,
exactly.
Like, okay, you have a degree in accounting.
We
fine.
know that. So other than crunching numbers, what more can you do? So what I would always tell people is, when you go for an interview and they ask you, they always say, what are you bringing on board? Why should we hire you? Ensure that you're not saying, oh, I'm a good accountant, I can just do accounting. be able to add more value. You can tell them, oh, these are my other strengths. I'm very good with communication. I'm very good with social media, so I can support the team at my spare time. I can volunteer during my leave period to go and work in this department. Ensure that the value you're bringing is much more than what they are paying you for, because that is what gets you a promotion.
Okay. Now, I have a friend looking for a PA. And then my wife was also looking for a PA. And she had an issue. Most of the people that had come, well, I don't work more than, I don't work more than 6 p.m. because, and then others say, there's a 7-day Adventist person that came and said she doesn't work on Saturday.
Saturday, weekends.
That Saturdays, she can't work. My wife was like, oh, okay. I actually work every day. Even Sundays, if there's need, I work. And so, should religion now be considered in some of these?
To be honest, no, it shouldn't be. But because people are very particular about these things, it's okay. If you say your religion is that important to you, then already know that you're putting yourself in a bucket where you will not come out of. Every employer needs to know that I can call on this staff whenever, wherever, and you have my back. That is what sets you apart from the next person. I remember when I took up my current role as HR manager, when we started the company, there was no finance, there was nobody liaising with our headquarters, nobody, and I took ownership for it. My first year of work, I won Employee of the Year. Yes. But the reason why it was unanimous, nobody could argue, was because I had delivered exceptionally well beyond what the company was paying me for.
Okay.
So and that also brings me back to research. If you are interviewing for a personal assistant role, you should already know that you work 24/7. They don't need to tell you your contract job. I've worked as a personal assistant.
Okay.
They didn't have to tell me that you don't close at 5 p.m. You close when your boss closes. But you go for an interview and you feel like you're doing them a favor. You are not. They will simply toss you out and take the other person who thinks they can add more value.
All right. Because the issue of personal assistant is important because the person will rely on you for some decisions.
The person who is thinking, I have somebody who's thinking for me, who's remembering these issues, who's doing this. The person doesn't want to think for you. What's the essence of employing you?
As a personal assistant.
Exactly. So if the person wakes up at 3 a.m. with an idea, your boss should know I can call you and you can take notes immediately. The next day we can discuss it. Okay. But if the boss is thinking, this one will not pick my call, this one, you're useless to the boss now.
There are different assistants here that I'll just round up with. And there's technical assistant, personal assistant, and executive assistant. Yes. What's the difference in all of this?
Technical assistant is someone who assists you on your technical role. So it can be maybe you're a finance person, the person is specific to finance issues, or you're an engineer. A personal assistant is somebody who attends to your personal needs. Anything you ask the person, go and pick up my laundry, book my flight ticket, do my birthday cake, send this to my husband's office. That is personal assistant. Executive assistant is somebody that you're grooming to sit with you at board meetings, management meetings, someone who can represent you.
Okay, when you can't make it,
when you can't make it, your executive assistant should be able to say, this is what we have discussed, these are the decisions we are making. So it's a bit more elevated, it's more technical than just a personal assistant.
So if you go for an interview, talking about value propositions, and you're being interviewed for the position of an executive assistant, and they say, can you also do personal assistant or technical assistant? What should you do?
So sometimes they don't really want you to do that, but they want to see, is this person willing to go overboard? So if, for example, your wife, for instance, has an executive assistant and something comes up with one of the kids, at that point, she should know that I have an EA, even if it's not her core job. If I tell her, sort this out for me, she has my back.
Okay.
But most often than not, people say, no, keep your personal life, You're not ready. The assistant is still assistant too. Whether it's executive or technical or personal, it is still assistant work.
Sure. All right. So you've heard from the expert. Most times people think that as soon as they finish the interview, then they will get called. No. If you don't get called.
If you don't get called, there's a couple of things. One, they picked a candidate that they like. Okay. Two, they decided that they don't want to go on with that role. Sometimes people have interviewed and then they realize, you know what, we don't want to hire for this role. Sometimes you can send an email to find out why. If they're kind and gracious enough, they might respond to you. But if they don't, if you go for interviews periodically and you don't get called, you need to talk to a career advisor and find out why.
All right. What's your email?
My email is omosiviemartins@gmail.com. That is omosiviemartins@gmail.com. Or send me a DM on Instagram. It's quicker at Iviechick, CHIC Chick.
All right. And if you have any other questions, vacancy with AliBaba@gmail.com. or Vacancy with AliBaba on Instagram. Next week we'll take some vacancies. There's no time this week, and we thank you so much for watching. God bless you. Have a prosperous and rewarding week.